Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our second part of opinion writing. As we said in the first session, we were going to break this into two parts so that it allowed you to do these sessions in a way that works for your school. So this session will actually be a little bit longer than part one session because we are going to cover all of the components that you see on this opening slide, the elements, the grade level expectations, resources, and collaborative engagement. You'll see as we continue through this, once again, that'll look very familiar as the parts of our last sessions. And so parts of this will go a little bit quicker because you have some background on how to use the Iwaki resources and what the grade level grid looks like from past sessions. And so we will begin with the elements with opinion writing to begin.
So we want you to be sure to, as we reference certain pages in Iwaki, be sure to feel free and stop, find those pages. Maybe you want to sticky note them, whatever, as resources. Actually, Elements of the Discourse is going to be the only section that's going to be somewhat new to you, but it gives explicit definition at what are the strategies that you teach for opinion writing. The first, like some of the other text types, is generating a meaningful topic. We know that the topics for opinion writing come from the curriculum, they come from texts that kids are reading, and they come from students' real-life experiences. Iwaki talks about using the writer's notebook to have a section to collect topics for opinion writing, different from topics for informational writing and topics for narrative writing. Okay, I love page 7. She gives some prompts for supporting opinion writing. And as you kind of look down here, they get a little bit more creative. Write to show your topic about something important to you. Doesn't that sound interesting to see what kids would write? Write to show your topic about something that you enjoy or something that you want to change or a way to make the world better. But you're not going to want to miss page 7. You might want to stop this now to refer to that. The second element of opinion writing is teaching kids how to state an opinion. Remember that in the text it says that kids are going to write opinion pieces around text and topics. And this first picture, this first lead, here's what I thought, is writing opinion around texts. And you learned in the first section that would be literary essays. It would be responding to literature. All of those are about texts. Okay. The second would be looking at from a topic standpoint. And one of the suggestions that Iwaki talks about is looking and comparing some real world things and beginning with that sentence starter. In my opinion, this is the book. This is the bike that I would like for my birthday. I don't need the training wheels. It looks like a big girl bike or whatever. So again, it's the two criteria that are to be focused on in your opinion pieces. Okay, I love page 21. Actually, this chart is already made, but she talks in there about doing this with children, where they create a chart of adjectives or words or phrases that describe literature, describes the texts that kids are reading, or describes the characters or people. It could be from social studies, it could be characters in a book, or topics or issues, could be from science, social studies. It could be today, you know, looking in the newspaper and topics in our neighborhood. But she calls it a chart of words to express an opinion. Another element of the discourse of opinion writing is helping kids to outline the reasons for an opinion, because we know strong opinions are backed by reasons supported with facts and details. And she talks about just using sticky notes where you would start your opinion statement and creating kind of a hierarchical outline so that kids see the relationship between the opinion, the claim that you're making, the reasons, and then the details or facts to support them. The fourth element of opinion writing is creating an organizational structure. She says what happens a lot with opinion writing is that kids don't always end up with a coherent, clear progression of logical thought. They might end up with a lot of interesting ideas in there, but they're not connected. So she talks about using some kind of organizational structure will help them to go from the planning to the composing. And it gives them an opportunity then to incorporate some of the linking words to ensure coherence in that piece. So again, we know the beautiful planning maps or story maps that Owaki has provided with every text type. This is the one for opinion. For grade 1, she talks about the use of sticky notes, again, to create that hierarchical outline of your claim, your reasons, your support. And eventually kids will get sophisticated even through their reading, that they understand the use of subtitles as they are working through an opinion piece, okay, with the reasons. Crafting a strong introduction. We've seen that twice before. That same element is in teaching narrative text type and in teaching informational text type. And we know that introductions are, number one, important to grab the reader, but we learned in informational that it also introduces the topic. And I think I showed you this the last time, where we took all the different ways that authors introduce pieces and showed how, between narrative and informational, we have a number of openings that are the same. Now we look between narrative, informational, and opinion, and we still see that each of those text types uses direct statements at the beginning, uses the draw-in question, uses observation from senses, uses fact-based questions to start, or factor detail. So this is a valuable chart because it shows you the connection of openings between the three text types. And so when I'm looking at a list in narrative and thinking, my gosh, there's about 12 of them here, where do I even start? I'd be thinking that, these intros that are in the middle, they're going to give us the biggest bang for the buck because they're used with all three text types. So creating a strong introduction to an opinion piece not only hooks the reader, but it starts building that openness toward the case being made. We know that looking at professional authors, looking at their openings are going to be helpful for kids in developing them. We eventually hope that kids are going to be able to try on different openings that authors have used as they write their own pieces. Now, sense of closure, again, it has been taught in narrative, it's been taught in informational. We know that a closure is more than just a summary of what was talked about. It is to extend the reader's thinking. It's to create thinking and questions after the reading, not only before and during. But if we look again, just between narrative and informative, we see in the center, these are some closures that are common to both of those text types. But now we look at narrative, informative, and opinion. Interesting. Actually, there are no closures that are common to all three. This is very interesting. But you can, depending on the sequence of your teaching, you can connect opinion to informative and see some common closures, or between informative and narrative, so that kids, as they use these same openings and closures through the different text types, will become very fluent at using them in their writing.
As you begin to bring all of these pieces of writing together in your understanding, I thought this visual was really a nice way to kind of help us process everything we've learned. And so these slides with the openings and closures are also standalones on the Literacy Hub. So if you want to look at just those in greater detail, talk about those in your team and talk about what closures you use or openings, those have been uploaded on the Hub for you to look deeper at.
That's great. So we know that in an opinion piece, the end is as important as the introduction, because in that ending, you not only want to provide a sense of closure, but you want to help that reader to consider the key points one more time and perhaps through a new lens. So again, using professional authors to look at closures, and then encouraging kids to try different closures so they can decide on which one is most effective and why. Well, here we are coming into home stretch. And honestly, when we start to see these charts that are bringing the three text types together, showing what's the same, what's different, this was helpful to look at the mini lessons and to see, oh my gosh, all of them begin with finding a topic or creating a topic. All of them have strategies for teaching strong introductions and providing a sense of closure. Informational and narrative are the only two that have to work with creating a title. But oh my gosh, this simplifies it for me. Because you know what it says? In argument, really, the only things that I teach different from the other text types is I've got to teach them three things: state an opinion, outlining the reasons, and an organizational structure that is going to support the reasons in the claim. Versus informational, again, organizing and managing a piece, getting them to focus, that's like really, really big. Only in informational, developing that content, and again, the charts, the graphs, the all of that, that's like only particular to informational. And then sequence, description, dialogue, signal words, and the pacing, that's unique to narrative. This chart, you start getting this in your head, you've got a lot. You've got a lot of background in how and what to teach at the bottom of the ladder in the Common Core writing. So we know that all of opinion writing is going to start with listening to opinion writing, listening to opinion talking. It's going to be reading that text type as well. And then we start collecting the different formats that we are going to write opinion. And we do it in the support of a whole group, small group, and then independently. We know that when kids are reading, on page 27, we see the questions for analyzing mentor texts or student writing that are around the opinion text type. Allie has loaded the cards, the question cards, so that you have them right at your fingertips, so that students have them right at their fingertips to analyze and to evaluate opinion texts. Because eventually what we want is that child to be reading independently, and the talk of analyzing opinion writing that you provided in your model lesson and that the peers provided in their conferencing now becomes what the student has in their head. And they in fact are looking in their independent reading of opinion text for the criteria that you taught them. So now we are ready to write. We've gone from listening to reading to now writing argument to support claims with reasoning. And that is the elements of discourse. And now you're going to recognize these grade level expectations. The only difference is the content. Here is now writing anchor number 1, which I just read. We see on page 1 the learning progression from kindergarten to 5th grade. We know your anchor is on the top. One of the big values of this learning progression is that you can know at your grade level what you're supposed to teach, or you know where to go to start based on the background of your students. You might have to go down to 2nd grade, but you find your starting place and you know how to progress in complexity and proficiency.
This grid really helps us to differentiate for all needs of our children in our class. As you look at that regardless of the grade you teach. It gives you background on and where to go with differentiation for them.
You're going to recognize this, the checklist of expectations. Again, this is the kid-friendly language for the I cans, the simplified language, page 8, for the criteria that you teach on opinion text type at your grade level. This is, in a nutshell, the easy language of what is your criteria that you're teaching at your grade level, and that goes up to 5. Here's the class record for opinion writing. I love, you put your student names in, you've got the criteria at the top. There's a listing of the pages for each grade level, and this is how you monitor who knows what and the progress that students are making. Milwaukee's wonderful for her resources to make this simplified. Here's her story maps for opinion writing, and you see the kid-friendly language for the criteria that you have to teach, and then the matching story map. Here's first grade, and here is opinion writing for grades 2 through 5. Again, here's the introduction to the text or the topic. Here's the opinion statement, and then here's the reasons, and then facts and details to support each of them, and ending with the conclusion. And this is page 11 to 12. And it matches, again, your simplified criteria that you're teaching in grades 2 through 5. So putting this all together, we see very clearly we're focusing on argument. Standard 4, making sure that it's clear and coherent in its delivery. Standard number 5, that it's embedded through a writing process. And standard number 6, to use technology to produce and publish and to share. Okay, and we're going to write opinion routinely for a while here. So now we move from grade level expectations to resources. Again, you know, how do I get started with opinion? Is it the same as informational or narrative, or is it different? Actually, opinion, you do start with the topic, but you have to generate an opinion statement. Okay, so instead of just learning about silkworms, now you have an opinion about them, that they'd be a great pet. Once you have that opinion statement, then you pick your format. Do you want to do a personal response to literature? Maybe you want to write a persuasive letter to mom. You could review a book. You could blog. You could create an advertisement, a persuasive video or photo documentary. You could create a persuasive essay or a literary essay. So you pick a topic, you generate an opinion statement, and then you pick your format and you're ready to roll. And you would be helping them, the students then, to think through their planning, the organizational structure, to name and notice the criteria for your grade level, and where that's exemplified in the mentor text that you are picking to show them. You're going to be not only thinking about the structure of opinion text type, you're going to be thinking about the middle of the ladder, which is the how the author writes it. Again, you know, the type of intro, the type of conclusion, the coherence of the text. This is shifting to the middle of the ladder, which is really the revising, the editing. It's thinking about the audience, that sense of audience on top of the structure of your text. So you're thinking about how the text is written. You're thinking of what are the moves that this author does to be effective. Is it the precise words he uses? So again, just like every other text type, when you pick a mentor text, you're going to be looking for a model mentor text that not only gives you the structure of the opinion writing that you teach at your grade level, but it's also going to be a model of good craft by the author. And so that, again, will create, it kind of defines what a good mentor text is for Writer's Workshop. Again, how do I teach? You know this. You know this. You know it starts with the demonstration or the focus lesson. The mini lessons are going to be specific to opinion writing. The mini lessons are the elements of the discourse that we talked about. We know the second stage that Owocki describes is collaborative engagement, and we know the purpose of collaborative engagement is to analyze and evaluate writing, both student writing and professional mentor texts. We know secondly, it's about conferring first with the teacher to get a good sense of the content of what's discussed in this text type, and then eventually conferencing with peers. Lastly, the kids are able to try on the different genres, and there they are. They're the different formats for opinion writing. Boy, this is getting a lot easier, isn't it? Going from resources now to just that final look at collaborative engagement. We know collaborative engagement is not the first step of gradual release. It always starts with the demonstration or the focus lesson, where you're naming and noticing that criteria. You are taking total responsibility at the beginning, but gradually you release that responsibility into a shared responsibility. Finally, the collaborative learning, where students are doing it without you. You're watching to see who knows what and where reteaching needs to occur, so that eventually kids are able to write proficiently with good complexity with independence, which is what Common Core is asked for. So we know with collaborative engagement, it's about analyzing and evaluating text and about conferencing. Okay, so if we look at analyzing and evaluating text, here we know you've already taught the elements of opinion writing. You'd give groups samples of student writing. If you don't have student writing, then give them some teacher writing on opinion. And you'd use the questions that for analyzing opinion writing that we looked at earlier, keywords and phrases used to express opinion, reasons that are given for the opinion. Can you tell how the author feels about the topic, and how is the opinion stated or shown? It's the same analysis of opinion text type that you use in reading that you would use in evaluating writing. And again, you will find samples for opinion student writing on achievethecore.org. Here are your questions that students will use in their small groups evaluating student writing. And again, they're made from page 27, which is out of Owocki. Okay, so in addition to analyzing and evaluating student writing, we also look at mentor texts. And we look at them with the same set of questions to analyze the craft. Because when students look at the professional texts, they now, it opens up ideas for them to consider as they are creating their own pieces that emulate these mentor texts. I put in here again, Owocki talks about, model introductions or model closures, and that kids save those in the writing notebook so that they are able to refer back to them as models that they might want to emulate when they're creating their own pieces. Okay, so the first step of a collaborative engagement is analyzing and evaluating writing. Why? For the purpose of improving. Okay, the second is conferencing. And we know the teacher conference is huge because you're setting the stage for all conferencing about this anchor standard. We know that your conference with the student gives you an opportunity to listen to the student talk and help them in some situations articulate their opinion because it's not clear in the writing. It allows you to see what kids are actually implementing or applying what you just taught them in the mini lesson. And it gives you an opportunity sometimes to reteach what you just had taught in a larger setting. So, Owocki's very specific. She says your focus in that teacher conference is teaching the writer, not perfecting the piece. So you only focus on one or two key concepts or strategies so that they really can consider and internalize them. She says in this conference, it's just a routine of 4 basic steps. I love her steps. They're very simple, and they're all focused on teaching the writer. Okay, so you open the conversation, you find a strength, you find a teaching point, and then you send the student away with something manageable to develop. And what that looks like for anchor 1, opening the conversation, you might say something like, show me how you built your opinion. You know, under strengths, you might say your reason for this opinion is well developed because, or one teaching point might be, you know, what do you think you are going to revise or do next from here? You know, this time we're going to talk about whatever. Next time we'll, you know, this is all specific to anchor 1. We know that after you have done some good solid conferencing around anchor 1, then that becomes the expectation for conversation with and within the peer conferencing. And we know kids are very capable of responding to each other, especially when they've been given some starting expectation for their conversations. And you did that in your teacher conferencing. So again, for anchor number 1, here is a peer conference plan. I love it. It's specific to anchor 1. Ask the author to tell you the opinion being built and then to read the piece with you. Then tell the author how you feel about the opinion. This is well laid out, her direction for teacher conferencing and for peer conferencing.
And both the teacher conference and peer conference plans are on the Literacy Hub. These are nice help sheets, if you will, for teachers to help remind us how our prompts matter, the language we use matters with kids, but then also just a nice guide for what we want the routine to be with kids and with you working with kids.
So we see an opinion checklist there. Together with the author, look at our opinion checklist and find all the key parts. Are all the parts present? This time I put in a grade 1 opinion criteria writing checklist. But again, this is a scaffold for students to use temporarily so they remember when they're looking at their writing, trying to monitor and regulate it, to say, do I have all the pieces in there? They would have this checklist as a resource to help them when they're working on their writing independently. We know that collaborative engagement is about analyzing and assessing writing, and it's about conferring, in summary. And we do all of that for the purpose to teach students how to improve their own writing. Owocki brings it together by saying, basically, in our writer's workshop, we are using the writing process, which is standard number 5, as the foundation for all writing in any text type. And we're doing it in an environment of gradual release. We know that it starts with the modeling of the teacher, the focus lesson, and the mini lessons that you're doing turns into anchor charts. They turn into guides and supports that are scaffolds to help children produce higher quality work. And we know the support of collaboration, where we've got 27 teachers in that room, not just one, is going to help students to write independently with greater proficiency and complexity. So this concludes our look at opinion writing. We hope that you're seeing a lot of familiar routines, tools, foundational information that you're able to go through this pretty quickly. But with every text type, what is different is the elements of that specific discourse.
And most importantly, as you are encouraging your students to write daily, that this is joyful for them. One of the fun parts of opinion writing, if you will, is that you get to hear your student's voice. You get to read and listen to what they think about a topic, and that is joyful for students, and I think joyful for teachers to read what it is our students are thinking. So we thank you once again. We're going to conclude this session, and then just a reminder that there is a technology session on the Hub for you to view at another time, and then there will be some an opportunity for you to respond on under forums on Google so that you can be entered into PRISM for credit. So thank you, and you'll hear from us again this school year. Thanks.